Yo, guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bane's Film Reviews. We're sitting down today with Adam Kitchen, the star of the short horror film When the Time Comes. It recently screened at Screamfest in Los Angeles. It's a fantastic short film that kind of plays with the lines between drama and horror. I encourage you guys to check it out. And once again, I have Adam sitting down with me for a little while, and we're gonna chat. So, where you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Texas today, Fort Worth.
Okay, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm all the way out in Jersey. So
Oh, okay. Wow, nice. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so how's this whole thing been going? This whole process been going? I'm not sure if it's been screening at if the film has been screened at other festivals. I like I said, I saw it at Screamfest. What's this process been like?
Um, it's actually been really good. We started off. Um, we shot it earlier this spring, and the John Daniel, the producer director, and
Mhm.
Jonathan, they wanted to try to get in the Louisiana Film Prize,
Okay.
but we didn't make that, and so that was kind of a disappointment to start. But
Hmm.
since then, it's just been really good. We won at this Demon Con festival, and we got in
Okay.
this festival, and there's a few others. Just I feel like every day he's telling me about a new one. So
Yeah. Yeah, there were I was fortunate enough to see quite a few things at Screenfest this year. And this was just one of the best ones. I mean, there was some really, really good films there, and this, like I said, was
really,
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
was hoping to get out to LA and go, but I wasn't able to. I was working.
no.
So
You're working on some new projects?
yeah, well, I was just working on like a commercial
Okay,
on the weekend that it happened, so I wasn't able to make it.
gotcha.
But
Gotcha. Because I was gonna ask you kind of what the process of being a part of these festivals is. Have you made it to any of the festivals, or do you plan to make it to any of the festivals?
I haven't made plans yet because we just haven't heard that much yet. I just heard about a new one. I think it's in New Orleans. So
Oh,
uh,
cool.
if that's the case, I'm going to try to make it to that one. It's fairly close.
Yeah.
Um, but what's cool is I have some other films out now as well, and I've gone to two festivals um, within in Texas. So
Oh,
uh,
nice.
that's been nice, and I hope if this one gets screened at some bigger ones, I'll definitely be there, So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. And then more broadly, how did you get into film in general?
yeah, long story or short story.
Whatever you want. You want to give me the long story? That's fine.
All right. I'll try to be quick. Yeah, I was always kind of just really shy, and I always knew I wanted to do it ever since I was a little kid, but I could never tell anybody.
Hmm.
And I just remember I was a film major in college, and I remember one day my mom called me up and said, "Hey," she was the only one that knew that I wanted to be an actor.
Hmm.
And she called me up and said, "Hey, there's this casting director, and he's casting the new Superman movie, and she said you should go." And I was like, "Oh, I can't. I don't know what I'm doing." And she said, "I'll go with you." So we show up, and there were like 500 people there,
Oh
and
my God.
we wait for 3 hours, and they have people just going in and leaving. The casting director's not saying a word, right? And the guy behind the camera is just directing everybody, and it's just one sentence that says, a commercial for Tide,
Hmm.
Tide detergent. And so I go in when it's my turn. I'm so nervous. I bumble it, totally screw it up. And I'm just like, I'm ready to make for the door. And the camera guy's like, no, 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 just let's just do it one more time. So I try it again, screw it up again. And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm not even gonna try. I head for the door. Well, the casting director stops me at the door, and he pulls me out in the hallway, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever done this before?" And I was like, "Obviously not." And he said, "Well, I'm going to give you my contact info, and later on down the line, I might send you some stuff, and in the meantime, get some acting experience." And I think that's just the confidence boost I needed,
Yeah.
um, because that sort of got me on a track to getting in class, being more comfortable. I did hear from him again with a couple auditions, but I never booked him. But After that, I moved to LA and I was there for 12 years. And so yeah, that's the long short story.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's cool that somebody had the confidence in you that had just met you. Because yeah, I'm sure that was a huge boost for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Rather than
mean,
right, good.
I was gonna say I feel for shy people that try to be actors because
Hmm.
they just need a little confidence, and then they can get going. So
Yeah, yeah. I was a shy kid for a long time, and I
yeah.
teach now. So not quite the same thing, but I mean, I still have to get up in front of people and talk every day. And
Yeah.
I
Public
I just
speaking, biggest fear, right?
yeah, I just sort of fell into it. I didn't really ever decide this is what I want to do. I just kind of ended up there, and I just been there ever since. I'm on year 5 now. So
Are you teaching film? Or are you teaching acting or?
no, no, I teach English, middle and high school English.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like I said, I kind of got there by accident. I happen to know people that needed positions filled in their school, and I, I just kind of showed up, and they go, "Well, here's a job." So
Heck yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
take it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
absolutely. Um, and then in terms of the movie, how did you come across this particular film, and how did you find yourself being a part of it and being the lead of it?
Yeah. I met JD through a mutual friend years ago.
Okay.
And I always knew that I remember seeing his first film and I was really blown away by it. And then, so for this one, he said he wrote a script and he wanted me to read for it before he put out a breakdown on Actors Access.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was like, yeah. And immediately when I read it, it was just, it's like an actor's dream. I mean, it had
Yeah.
everything in it. And so I knew I wanted it. And I knew he was really talented. So then I sent him my audition. Didn't really hear anything.
Hmm.
Uh, the breakdown went out on Actors Access, so I knew they were looking at hundreds of other people. And and then eventually, I guess a few weeks went by, and they called me and said, "Hey, can you adjust this a little bit, and then send us another tape?" I said, "Sure." And then they said, "Can you do a chemistry we read with our actress?" I said, "Great." And it just went from there. And they said, "Yeah, you're hired." And I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I was really thrilled for this one.
Well, you did a phenomenal job. Um, and so one of my questions was, obviously you're the lead. Um, Rachel obviously plays a pivotal role in this, but you find yourself, I feel like, alone, or you're meant to feel alone in nearly every scene. I mean, even when you're not physically alone, that's kind of the tone of the film. What's
Mhm.
it like, sort of operating in isolation constantly?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, that's a good question.
And like
Yeah,
obviously, I know there's camera guys, and I know that you're never really alone, but
right. Right. But yeah, I mean, you have to put yourself in a place where you feel that way for sure.
mm,
And I think gosh, I don't know. I felt like that was one of the challenges of this movie for me
mm,
was that he wanted that feeling of isolation and feeling all those emotions. So it was really a challenge uh to just really go deep within and start feeling, it's hard to describe.
yeah,
Um and it's, as an actor, you don't always get there, but sometimes you have those moments. And I
mm,
had one moment on this film that I can say, it's like Zen. It's where everything's gone, and it's what you want, what you dream of as an actor,
mm,
being in that moment. Um, so so yeah, it was definitely a process. But I did feel like they made me comfortable from the get-go, and
mm,
plus they have really good actors
yeah,
um, for me to play off of, before we started doing all those scenes where I was by myself. Um,
right,
Rachel's just amazing.
yeah,
So
she was fantastic for sure. Um, and then this, like I mentioned earlier, this kind of exists like on the fringes between drama and horror. It's not
Mhm.
really a horror, even though there's zombies part of it.
Right.
But what about that specifically? Because obviously John Daniel and Jonathan purposely made it this way. Why do you? Well, maybe you know the answer, but why did they choose to make it more dramatic than horror? And what about that attracted you to it?
Um, yeah, I think JD is got a great sense of what horror films can actually do for people, in the sense of like what you get out of it, you
Hmm.
know, in the real world. And he described to me first and foremost the way he pictured it was, he was like, in the when you watch like a zombie movie or any horror film, really, you sometimes have the main characters go to a house and they see dead bodies in the house,
Hmm.
and he was like, I want to tell their story. I want to tell what
Okay.
happened to them, um, and go through that and all the pain before things went really south. You know,
Hmm.
uh, so I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You did. And then, um, so I haven't had a conversation with someone last week, and they said how like the zombie genre is dying, like it's dying off, and it's played out, and obviously that's not true because we're getting films like this where it's still
Yeah,
relevant and it's still important.
yeah.
It just reaches you in a different way. Um, was there any part of going into a zombie film where you thought, maybe it shouldn't be zombies, maybe it should, maybe there was something I would have done differently? I'm not really sure how to word the question, but like how,
No,
like just kind of your opinion on the idea of another zombie movie being thrown into
right.
the fold.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of. I watch zombie movies, but I'm not a huge
Hmm.
fan of them in general. I don't know why. It's just personal preference. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think for this one, it was it was such a unique take because it wasn't really about zombies. It was about this
Right.
family, you know. And he had this idea of the zombies. Their sort of weapon was their screaming, and so they paralyze you with their scream. And
Hmm.
he had this new idea, and I think that's what it comes down to as far as zombie movies
Yeah.
is if you keep reinventing like what they are and then I think it'll stay alive for a long time, and it has, you
Yeah.
know. So
um and then with that, like, I didn't want to bring it up, but I couldn't find a way around it. Like Walking Dead is the standard for zombies at this
correct.
point. I
Yeah.
mean, it's spanned 11 years. Um, but again, they've reinvented it and they've created something that was new and unique,
Right.
even while like AMC is constantly reinventing this thing. You
Yeah.
still found this niche place that exists outside of that. Is there any part of you going into that? Like you said, I know you said that you don't really watch zombie movies and things like that. Or was any part of you going into that thinking we have to compete with this? Like we can't live up to this standard? Or is there ever that doubt when you're going into a film where they've set that standard so high somewhere else in the field?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, with this one for sure, because I watched The Walking Dead, at least like the first two seasons or so,
Mm,
and then I kind of fell away. But but yeah, immediately that's what I thought of when I was reading it, and I was thinking like, okay, how's it going to be? How are you going to do it differently? You
yeah,
know. But I think like um, I think as I was reading it, it sort of popped, and it was different to me. Maybe because like we talked about earlier, maybe because like it's just about one guy in isolation.
yeah,
I don't know what it was, but it seemed like a different take. Yeah.
yeah. And just to clarify, I'm asking these specific questions because I looked at the film and I thought it's just playing out so perfectly. Like I'm just trying to figure out what could have gone wrong because I
Oh yeah.
because inevitably on a film set things don't go the way you always plan them to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything just looked so good. I mean, from the makeup to the acting to everything, it just looked so well done.
Oh,
So
thank you.
that's why I'm curious about this stuff. I don't want to think
Yeah.
I want you to think I'm like beating this movie down.
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And we definitely had our share of like issues for sure, just like every film.
Yeah.
But
Um, and then I always wonder what it's like acting, like with a child actor. I mean, she was obviously phenomenal.
yeah.
She sold it when she sang
Yeah.
that song over and over again. Uh,
Yeah.
she does a great job. But what's it like? Because I would imagine you approach that differently with her than you would have with Rachel, or you would have with any
Oh
other
yeah.
adult actor that you ever been with. What's that process like?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you have an actress like Antonella, I mean, it's there really isn't much direction for her. It's just basically um, um, trying to uh, trying to make sure that she's just a little more fragile. You know, that's the way you treat
Sure.
little kids on set, and you know you want to get them in and out as fast as you can. You know, before like so our biggest thing was like the heat.
Okay.
And I was in this we're in this like shipping container, and I was acting opposite her,
Mm,
and like it was amazing. Like as soon as the cameras turned on, she was in it. You know, she was
yeah.
in it. And after every take, you know, everyone's like, uh, you know, what can we get you water? You want to step outside? You want to, you know, um, but I do feel like she was an exception as far as kids go. I've worked with a lot of kids, and it's there's usually I don't know. I don't want to dog anybody, but usually, you know, there's some complaining if it starts going too long. And
Sure.
um, um, but I will say this: like a lot of kids I worked with, including Antonella, they're like sponges. They know their dialogue and my dialogue backwards and forwards. You know,
Yeah.
oftentimes better than I do. And, and I start thinking, what am I doing? You know, uh, but uh, but yeah, working with her was a treat. You know,
Yeah.
she was really good, really exceptional.
Yeah, she was phenomenal. And then like I mentioned that song, I mentioned it in the review, and you
Yeah,
commented
yeah,
that it's kind of been haunting you. And again, I kind of connected that to a scene in The Walking Dead. Um, so when in one of the later seasons, Daryl ends up somewhere, and they play this song "Easy Street" over and over and over again.
uh,
And while it's used in a different context than it is with this film, um, it sort of plays the same role where it's just this same thing. You're being reminded of this thing over and over and over again.
yeah,
Was there talk of like different songs going into that, or was that the
yeah,
go to when you got into
yeah,
it?
yeah. He was keeping me up to speed on that as he was like preparing for the song, and it was more of just like a rights issue thing, you
Okay.
know. Yeah, and he found this one, and he was like, yeah, it's really simple and it really gets stuck in your head. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, we got the rights for it, so we're gonna. And he sent it out to us maybe a week and a half before filming, and he was like, I want you guys to listen to this, you know, as much as you can tolerate it.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, within you know within like 3 or 4 listens, you're like, okay, I get it, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it really works in terms of the film because it's like a device used for like the psyche of your
Yeah.
main character, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
And it constantly reminds you that of this thing that existed.
yeah, yeah, and it's a play on like the dichotomy between what's really going on and the innocence of the world before, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I had that song stuck in my head for days. And then I finally got it out, and then I posted the review, and it was back. And then I finally got it out again, and I typed up the questions this morning for this, and it was stuck in my head again for a couple
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's starting to enter my brain right now, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
and,
cheese beans. God.
and I'm trying to teach, and that's just in the back of my head. I just
Yeah,
hear.
yeah. That's a
um,
good thing. That's a good thing. That makes our film memorable, you know, at
yes, it
least.
does. Yes,
Yeah.
it works. It works in multiple ways. It works within the film, then it works outside of the film to have people remember it. So it works. It was a great choice. So kudos to them
Yeah.
for driving everybody crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so I know you said the heat was an issue, and then obviously there's some things with Antonella that you have to worry about with laws and stuff like that. But what was, other than those things, what did you find to be the most challenging about this?
Um, well, um, I guess I won't get into it. I don't want to. We did have one issue with one of the crew, um, and there's not much I can say about it, but it kept us up late one night,
Okay.
and actually the night before the last day of filming,
Hmm.
and so we found ourselves, or JD did, scrambling to replace um, this crew member, because he just had an issue, and it for me and for JD, we were staying in the same place with this person, and we wound up staying up for most of the night. And so the reason why I say all this is because, like, probably the biggest issue was finding a replacement the day of our last day of filming,
Hmm.
and trying to get energy for the rest of the day. And
Sure.
it came down to, I had this vision of how the last shot would be as an actor, and the way I want, the perfect, like, close up with a single tear, and, like,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I found myself at the end of the day just totally drained,
Yeah.
because we shot kind of in order, but basically, like, our last scene was the last thing we shot.
Okay.
And um, I was just dead to the world. Um, and I remember I was talking to this guy, Matt Garvin, and he was working with our DP, Matt Valentine, both
Okay.
really, really talented guys that worked together a lot in Louisiana.
Hmm.
Um, I found myself, I was talking with him, and he was like, man, just, you feel like this, just use it. And JD was like, yeah, man, just whatever you feel, we're going to do it multiple times. We've got time,
Yeah.
so it's just whatever comes up. And and I think it really helped me for the character, because as the character, he was giving up.
Hmm.
He was just giving up in the end, and realizing, like, okay, I'm happy with my memories. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And 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 that's why in the last moment, it wasn't necessarily a sad moment for me. I thought that's what it would be, but for me, it was more of a letting go.
Yeah.
And I think it played okay. I think it played all right. So
I didn't see any issues with it, so
yeah.
I think it played out well. Yeah. And so you mentioned filming mostly in order. Do you find it easier to film in order, or do you find it easier to film kind of at a sequence, like whichever way you think might work best?
Oh yeah. Huh. Yeah. I guess if I could prefer, I would go in order, just because
Hmm.
when you first arrive on a set, and this happened with a feature I was doing last month, when you first get there, even though you've worked through all the research and whatever you have to do as an actor,
Yeah.
you still have these. You're still figuring out the character from scene one. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would prefer going in order. That's most often not the case, but just as far as figuring out who the character is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. And then we talked about what was challenging, but what do you find to be? It could be in general with film or specific to this one. What do you find to be the most rewarding aspects?
Of
So of filmmaking in general, just being a
filmmaking,
part of. So it could be in
yeah,
general or in specific to this film.
yeah. Yeah, I think the most rewarding thing for me is the feeling you get in the moment.
Okay.
Um, I mean, yeah, the screening afterwards, I love, even though I don't always like watching myself, I do like watching my
Hmm.
movies, and but like I think it's the feeling you get when you're doing it. It's well, kind of like what I said earlier, and a lot of people experience this with different their own different jobs, but like when you get in the zone and you're not thinking about anything, and you're just feeling and doing and reacting,
Yeah.
and that is what I'm constantly going for, because that feeling is really bliss. It doesn't matter to me if I'm feeling sad or angry or whatever. It's the release of that,
Okay.
that keeps me going, that makes me feel like, oh man, I this is the only thing that I love to do,
Hmm.
and I hope that I can keep doing it and do bigger things.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Um, and then, so for everyone that's watching, where can they watch when the time comes?
Well, right now it's only at film festivals.
Okay.
Uh, and I'm assuming they'll probably put it out there sometime early January. Hopefully we get like maybe like an Amazon Prime or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if not, uh, it'll be posted, probably on Vimeo at some point, and
Yeah.
you can go and check it out there. And yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So,
And then I know I brought this up, but like, what are you looking forward to working on? What are you working on? Kind of where are you headed from here?
well, right now, lately it's been a lot of commercial work. I just shot another commercial this last weekend.
Hmm.
And but I have a lot of auditions every week. I did one yesterday. I'm going to do one after this interview. So hopefully I have something coming up pretty soon.
Cool.
Other than that, I'm looking forward to the releases of some of my other films. I did a feature called Hands of Hell, and
Okay.
they're looking at Hulu. So hopefully something like that
Nice.
happens early next year. So
Yeah. Well, best of luck with that.
hey, thanks, man.
I hope it all works out. And
Thank you very
then,
much.
of course, of course. And then I'm always curious what everyone's favorite film is, or films, television shows, and kind of how they've inspired you, if they have in any way.
Man, I think about this question a
Yeah.
lot, because it's really hard. It's a tough one. I can name a few.
Hmm.
I would say I'm a really big fan of Fight Club. I read the
Okay.
book and then watched the movie, and that movie kind of blew me away, as it did a lot of guys our generation.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm a huge fan of Kubrick.
Okay.
The Shining might be my favorite film, because I've seen it more than any other film.
Wow.
Um, I feel like he's just a director that you watch his movie the first time and nothing really happens. You watch it the second and it's like, okay. And then like the fifth time, it's like, wow.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I really like his stuff. And then lastly, I would say, oh man, I know I'm forgetting something, but for good comedy, I enjoy Chris Farley. So I got to go Tommy Boy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I can give a definitive answer anyway. I
I was
always
just
say,
about to ask, like, what are some of yours? Just out of curiosity.
um, so I have, so on Letterbox they ask you for four favorites. I don't know why they chose four, but they chose
Okay.
four. So Avengers Endgame is on there. I'm a huge Marvel nerd.
Yeah, it's great.
Empire Strikes Back has just been my go-to. When people say what's your favorite, I just say Empire Strikes Back. I've been
Good
saying that since
call.
I was a
Oh
little
man,
kid.
I wish I would have thought of that before you asked
Yeah.
me. Go ahead.
And I know why I know why I love that film so much. My dad took me to see it when they re-released them in theaters before the prequels came out. And he worked a lot. So it was an opportunity that he took me to the midnight showings, and I was like the first time I'd been out that late, and I enjoyed it so much. So I know that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
And then Palm Springs with Andy Samberg is one of those.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
He's
I love
he's
him.
he's so funny, but he's not just funny in this. It's very dramatic and emotional.
Okay.
He does a phenomenal job. And then it's called One of the Good Ones, which is an indie film. This guy Jesse McKinney wrote and directed it out in San Diego, and I came across it when I was writing for Film Threat, and it's just so good. It just
One of the good ones.
one of the good ones. I
Okay.
can't remember off the top of my head what it's on. I have it on DVD, so I forget what some things are on.
Okay.
Um, but those top four, they come to mind that they're on there. but things come and go. Like I've seen some really great films this year. Like Clerks 3 is up there. I think Clerks 3 is my favorite of all of them now.
That was great.
It
I
was
really,
so
I
good.
really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It was so good.
I didn't have high expectations because with sequels, and man,
Yeah.
it was excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then like 2 kind of dipped a little bit and then
Right. Yeah.
oh god, it was so different, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and as you can see behind me, there's a bunch of them. So, and
Yeah. Good Lord.
I haven't even seen half of these. We just, my wife and I, we combined our collections when we moved in together, and we've just been
Wow.
collecting since. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, we were watching in alphabetical order, and we stopped about a year ago, and now I have like this program called like Wheel of Names. I spin the wheel, and whatever comes up, that's what we watch. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so thanks again so much for taking the time out to sit down with me and chat about your film and what's coming next and things like that. Had a great time.
I had a great time too. Thanks very much for asking me. This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Of course, of course. And I'll look forward to whatever you put out next. I'll make sure to keep up with whenever that makes its way to digital, and
I'm,
hopefully I
I'm,
can share with some
I'm,
people.
okay. I'm going to keep you posted from now on. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or admit this, but I took the link off of the Screamfest website before they cut me off when the festival ended, so I still have access to it, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I might watch it a couple more times, but I hope I don't get in trouble for that. I don't know.
Oh, that's
I don't know.
awesome. Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know if I'm supposed to do that.
Yeah. Tell me
Um,
if anything else stands out to you.
I will. I will. But again, thank you so much. Best of luck with everything that's upcoming, and yeah, just keep powering through, because if the rest of them are anything like this, then I'm looking forward to them.
Oh, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
All right.
See you.